This is the iFi IDSD Diablo, a high-end transportable DAC amplifier that comes in at $999. I've had my eyes on this for quite some time because I've heard about how much of an absolute beast this thing is. So I'm going to share my experience. We're going to talk about specifications and sound of the iFi IDSD Diablo. This is Audio In Reviews. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the design and specifications of the Diablo. As you can see here, this has a beautiful red finish. It has a full metal housing. It has a little bit of weight to it, and it has some rubber feet, which is good, especially for desktop usage. So the design is actually quite nice. It feels and looks very premium. Now, as far as the outputs, on the front here, as you can see, you've got the full-size headphone output here. You have a balanced pentagon output. You have this switch here, which this is for different usages. So if you have full-size headphones that require a lot of power, you can put it in turbo mode. Full-size headphones that don't require a lot of power, you can put in normal or eco. I've had it in eco mode for most of my testing because I've got, as you can see here, I've got in-ear monitors. And I have a very sensitive in-ear monitor here, the Campfire Solaris. We'll go over that in just a minute. So as far as the inputs, you have a standard computer, just your USB input here. You have a USB Type-C power input here, you have a balanced, this is a 4.4 fixed output. It's a Pentacon 4.4. This is for like external amplifiers. And then you have your optical input here, which I did use this with my DX220. So now, as far as power output, this thing puts out about 5,000 milliwatts, which is quite impressive. So this thing will power just about anything. As far as the sound processing, this uses 2 Burr Brown DAC chips, and it also has the new the 16-core XMOS chip. So this thing can handle up to PCM 768, DSD 512, 2X DXD, and of course PCM and the DSD remain bit perfect. This also does provide full MQA decoding, and that's also, it can decode it through the optical input. So that's really cool. So this thing can decode pretty much any of the higher bit rate audio codecs out there, and again, the power output on this thing is really impressive. Now, as I was saying earlier, we talked about this little switch here. You have turbo, normal, and eco, and I kept it on eco for most of my testing because I have IEMs. I did use my buddy's, he has a couple of pairs of pretty nice headphones, so I did test it out with that also, and this thing was easily able to power those with no issues at all. Sounded really nice. But most of my testing was actually done with my IEMs. So as you can see here, I have the Kinera Nana 2.0. I have the Campfire Solaris. I also have the Unique Melody Mest, the MK1, and then I've got the BQEYZ Summer, the Tangem Tanya, some other budget IEMs that I tried on this, and of course the power output. That's one thing I wish they would have included on this, is like they had on the signature, their IDSD signatures, they had the IE match for sensitive IEMs, and it does say in the description on the website that that's what this eco mode is for. However, I found that with sensitive IEMs like my Campfire Solaris, that it was just too much, even in the eco mode. As a matter of fact, I was only able to get about right here with my volume before it was just too loud and too unbearable for me. Now, I did find it to be a pretty different story with my Mest. I was able to have had a little more, those are less sensitive IEM than the Solaris, so I was able to actually get pretty decent volume control with the Mest, and so that was actually usable with the Mest. Now, then we have the Kinera Nana 2.0 here, which this thing requires and loves power. I was actually able to get quite a bit more volume control with the Nana than I was any of my other IEMs, and which was really nice. So that I got most enjoyment with the Diablo with my Kinera Nana 2.0. That thing was an absolute, just this combination sounded really incredible. So now, as far as portability and transportability, this is, of course, it's advertised as being transportable. It does come with this case right here, and at the beginning of the video I showed you how I could put my DAC, the Diablo, and some headphones in the case, close it up real nicely, and of course this case does make it a lot easier to transport. Now, I also did put this, like I did with the iFi IDSD signature, I strapped it onto the back of my phone and went for a walk. That was a little, it's a little bulkier. It wasn't like too too big of a distraction for the most part of my walk. I just held it in my hand. But again, like the Signature, I just don't think it's really meant for portability. Now, another thing you can do is you can actually, the case has these little pass through here and here, so you can actually kind of set everything up. You can put the DAC in here, and then your source here or here, and then run cables to it, and then plug your headphones in. And you can actually, I mean, it might be a little tough adjusting the volume. It's not impossible, but a little bit tough. So if you're riding a bus or a train, then that might actually work okay. Definitely give them an A for effort on that. But for the most part, for what I do, that isn't necessarily something that I would use. However, I can see that working for some. So now, of course, desktop usage, this thing is great. It doesn't have a very large footprint, and like I said, it has good weight, doesn't move around, it has the rubber feet. So desktop usage, I think, is definitely this thing is perfect for desktop usage. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about the sound of the Diablo. Before we dive into the sound, I quickly just want to talk about usage. So depending on what you're planning on using this for, whether it's going to be as a desktop or portable or transportable, with the case, if you want to combine it, take it with you on the bus or train, in the case with a DAP or your phone, and you're using sensitive IEMs, again, you might want to bear in mind that there is a little bit of an issue. But then once you get to about right there, all of a sudden, with sensitive IEMs, it's too loud. So a workaround for that, if you're going portable, at least for me, was, and this was the only way I was able to get it to work portably, on my S21 Ultra, using the Power Amp app, I was able to use the volume control, dial the volume control back a little bit on my phone, and that gave me more volume control on the Diablo. But unfortunately, that I was only able to use the volume control on my phone with the Power Amp app. I couldn't figure out how to do it in UAPP. There may be a way, if you dig a little deeper in UAPP, to enable the volume control from your phone. I just couldn't figure out how to do it, because if I would have been able to do it through UAPP, then I could have also not only accessed the files that I have on my phone, I could also access Tidal through UAPP. So that was a little bit of an issue. But again, that's only if you're going to be using this portably or transportably. Unfortunately, using my DX220, and again, just a reminder, that's only if you're using sensitive IEMs, and there are a lot of sensitive IEMs out there. With my DX220, with either the optical output or the USB Type-C output, I only had fixed output. I was not able to achieve any kind of volume control from my DAP using Tidal, Spotify, UAPP, or Power Amp with my DX220. So that being said, again, that really depends on what IEMs you're using. If you have like the Nano 2.0s, I was actually, or even the Mest, I was able to get enough volume control so that wasn't really an issue for me when it comes to portability. Again, this is only something you need to worry about if you know you have sensitive IEMs like the Solaris or other Campfire IEMs. Now, aside from that, using Tidal on a PC, I was able to use the volume control within the Tidal app itself, the PC application itself, to control the output from the PC into the Diablo, and was able to achieve pretty much a degree of volume control using the Diablo by decreasing the output of the volume on the laptop. And doing that, and again using the power amp on the S21 Ultra, I was able to really get a lot of enjoyment out of my Solarises. Again, when we get into the sound, that's one thing I'm going to talk about, is the background noise. So that's just something you might want to take into consideration before you purchase this. Most people, I imagine, are probably just going to be using this for a desktop setup, so that will probably not even be an issue for you, because again, if you're using it as a desktop, you're going to be using it with a PC. If you're using Tidal, you can use the volume control from Tidal and other apps. I don't really use a whole lot of other desktop player apps for the most part, but again, just something to take into consideration before you make your purchase. Now, okay, so moving into the sound, most of my testing was actually done using the 4.4 Pentacon output. I did also test the 1/4-inch adapter also. My Nana's, actually the stock cable of my Nana's has 3.5, and I have options basically 4.4, 2.5, or 3.5 for all of these. So I tested both of these outputs. But most of my testing was done with the balanced output and in eco mode. There was no reason for me to try normal or turbo with my IEMs. So now, as far as the overall sound, again, I want to talk about the noise floor, because that, if you have sensitive IEMs, you all know that can be an issue. It can be annoying if whatever source or DAC amp you're using doesn't have a low noise floor with sensitive IEMs like Solarises, Andromedas, and there's a few others out there. You're going to hear a little bit of that noise. You're going to hear a little bit of hiss, and that can be kind of annoying depending on what kind of music you're listening to. The noise floor on the Diablo is pretty much non-existent. To me, it was completely black. There was no noise that I heard at all using the Solaris. So that is one reason I really liked the pairing. Not only does it sound good together, once I was able to get past that issue, I was able to get a ton of enjoyment with this pairing right here. So the noise floor on the Diablo is pretty much non-existent. I mean, it is about as black of a background as I've ever heard. So that was super, super cool. Now, the sound signature is what I would consider to be neutral warm. Not as warm as the IDSD signature, but still I would consider it a warm sound signature. So you do have an emphasis on the mid bass and bass, but again, it's not quite as much of an emphasis as the IDSD signature. The treble presentation is exactly where I like it, and while it is, you could consider it to be on the more clinical or analytical side, but I would still say the overall presentation of instruments and vocals, percussions are still very natural and organic sounding. As far as soundstage, imaging, and layering, the soundstage of the Diablo, it is nice and wide. I did notice one of the things I remembered about the IDSD signature was the forward depth and the forward layering. This does have a wide soundstage, but it seems like the forward depth it's just not necessarily intimate, just not quite as deep as far, again, forward depth as the signature, the IDSD signature. Now, as far as imaging and separation, they are both excellent. So instruments and voices all had a defined space within the sound field. As far as texture and layering, that is also excellent. So you could definitely hear textures in in certain horns, trombones, textures in some string like cellos, in the different tones in pianos, piano notes. So this was able to really pull all that texture and layering out. Now, as far as detail and retrieval and resolution, compared to the IDSD signature, this again I would say falls more on the analytical side. So detail retrieval capabilities of the Diablo are excellent, and the resolution is also so very, very good. So in conclusion, I guess the question really is this right for you? And I guess, again, it depends on what your budget is, of course, because this is a $900 DAC amplifier. Also, you know, again, you have to take into consideration what the usage is. Do you have sensitive IEMs? Do you have headphones and IEMs? Are you going to be using it as a portable or transportable or as a desktop unit? I would say for most people, this is going to work, especially again if you're going to be using it as a desktop, and even if you do use it as portable, there's still ways around the volume issue. So for me, once I figured that out, that was not an issue at all. And again, if you're looking for something that's more minimalistic, you remember the IDSD signature and also the black label has a lot of switches. You've got and again, that is one thing I wish they would have put on this, is the IE match. That would have been a cool feature to have on this. But again, if you're looking for something more minimalistic and just raw power, raw, clean, pure, beautiful sounding power, and you got $900 to spend, this thing is right for you. I have had just an absolute incredible time with as far as my time with this. Just really got a lot of enjoyment. I was able to spend enough time with this and my sources, my IEMs, and a few other IEMs to really, I think, get a good feel of what this thing is capable of. And again, I got a lot of enjoyment out of the Diablo. And and I think, again, depending on what your budget is and what your usage is, this could be right for you. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you liked it. Please like the video. Please share the video. We'll see you again next time.